Welcome back to Capitol Review. This week, the Supreme Court ruled that former presidents have at least some immunity from criminal prosecution for official acts in office, regardless of politics, policy, or party. But it doesn't cover everything. Joining us now is Zach Schonfeld. He's the court and legal reporter with our media partners at The Hill. Zach, welcome back.
Good to be with you.
Zach, what is your reaction to the Supreme Court's ruling?
I think the bottom line of this decision was what was expected after the Supreme Court's oral arguments in April, when the justices actually took the bench and we had a glimpse into their thinking. This idea that former presidents do have some immunity from criminal prosecution. Lower courts, when Donald Trump had brought up these arguments, had flatly rejected those. So although they stuck out a middle ground, this was very much a win for Trump since his claims were flatly rejected in a lower court. So I think it's quite a broad theory of immunity. But of course, it still does leave this. It throws his cases back to a lower court, and they're going to decide whether the allegations in his indictments actually apply to the Supreme Court's test.
You talked about there's been a lot of fallout. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think going into this decision, a lot of the focus was, what is this going to mean for his criminal case in Washington, D.C., where he has not yet faced trial? This is his federal election subversion case. And the question there was whether this is going to stop him from going to trial before the election. And I think, the outcome from the Supreme Court, because they're sending this battle back to a lower court, it's going to allow him to delay it past November. But I think what was not anticipated was the fallout that it's already seemed to have on his case where he already went to trial. That is his hush money case up in New York. Because of the Supreme Court's finding that former presidents possess criminal immunity not only for official acts, but also that those official acts can't even come in as evidence into a trial, I think that throws some questions and a hint of doubt on former President Trump's recent conviction. And that's why we saw his sentencing get delayed from July 11th into September. And now the question becomes, will the jury's verdict stand?
Well, Zach, this ruling doesn't protect the president in some cases. What would be those cases?
I think that really is an unanswered question here. And actually, if you look to the liberal justices' dissents in this case, quite forceful dissents, one authored by Justice Sonia Sotomayor, the other authored by Ketanji Brown Jackson. President Biden's the first appointee to the court. And they were actually one of the criticisms that they gave toward the majority was the fact that they had actually listed out some examples of what they thought would fall into official acts or fall into what they called core constitutional powers, which they said former presidents have absolute immunity from. But the liberal justices said, the majority, they didn't, go on to cite all these examples of unofficial conduct. So I think there really does remain this question of where is the line between official and unofficial conduct? And that's just going to be a battle that's going to play out in the trial courts in the months to come as former President Trump's team goes back to fight with prosecutors on this.
Do you think the Supreme Court could have done more? And what does this mean moving forward?
The Supreme Court waited, pretty long to get this decision out in terms of their term. They actually went into July. They usually finish their work by the end of June. They didn't deliver this decision until July 1st. And I think, every day that passed between the oral arguments back in April and then when they handed this decision down in July, I think a lot of Democrats and people who wanted to see former President Trump go to trial before November were getting very concerned. And they were, urging this court to act much faster, to get the decision out quicker so it would unfreeze Trump's case in Washington, D.C., and that could potentially proceed to trial. Now, the Supreme Court, I should note, they did take this case up still a little bit faster than they do their normal case. But I think a lot of Democrats and anti-Trump forces who really want to see him, go to trial, I think they were really concerned and said the Supreme Court could have done here more simply by acting earlier.
Zach Schonfeld, thank you very much.
Thank you.